Gene Hackman never set out to be Hollywood's friend. He set out to be its truth-teller. For more than 4 decades, he carved out a reputation as one of cinema's greatest performers, not because he played the game, but because he refused to. He believed acting was sacred work, a craft built on discipline, preparation, and raw honesty. But that same dedication also made him one of the most intimidating co-stars in the industry. Some actors admired him for it. Others clashed with him, and a rare few pushed him so far that the tension never died. These are the 7 actors Gene Hackman could never stand, and the real stories behind the feuds that defined his career. 1. John Travolta, the movie star versus the craftsman. Some battles don't begin with shouting. They begin with a shrug. When filming Get Shorty in 1995, Hackman arrived on set like he always did, fully armed. He had spent the entire weekend memorizing 8 dense pages of dialogue. Every line rehearsed, every pause considered, every emotional beat mapped out. So, on day 1, when he asked John Travolta whether he'd done the same, Travolta just smiled. No, he said, that's a waste of a weekend. For Hackman, that line wasn't casual. It was a declaration of war. Travolta floated through production with a relaxed charm that had revived his career in the Pulp Fiction era. Hackman, on the other hand, saw acting as a battlefield. Preparation was ammunition, and Travolta had shown up unarmed, yet still expected to win. The frustration grew quickly. Travolta stumbled through lines he hadn't learned, relied on cue cards held just off camera, and sometimes delayed scenes for reasons that had nothing to do with the film. One afternoon, he allegedly kept the entire crew waiting because he wanted to try on tuxedos for an upcoming awards show. To Hackman, who despised ego and Hollywood posturing, that was the purest insult. At one point, director Barry Sonnenfeld finally intervened. "You're not mad at me," he told Hackman gently. "You're mad at John." And he was, deeply, quietly, permanently. When Travolta asked him where a scene should start, Hackman pointed to the giant cue card and said, "Right there, John, top of your cue card." Travolta didn't catch the sarcasm, but everyone else did. Ironically, Get Shorty became a hit, and Travolta even won a Golden Globe for the role. But the award did nothing to soften Hackman's view. To him, Travolta was a movie star pretending to be an actor. And for Hackman, there was no greater sin. 2. John Wayne, the legend who hated him from afar. Most feuds begin with a disagreement. This one began with a verdict from a man who barely knew Hackman existed. Long before Gene Hackman became a household name, John Wayne, the king of old Hollywood westerns, had already formed an opinion about him. According to Wayne's daughter, whenever Hackman appeared on screen, her father's reaction was immediate and blistering. The worst actor in town, Wayne reportedly growled, "He's awful." No explanation, no critique, just contempt. Hackman never retaliated publicly. He respected Wayne's legacy, even if he didn't respect his judgment. But the comments cut deep. Hackman built his career on total immersion, emotional vulnerability, and truth, all the things Wayne routinely avoided in favor of mythic simplicity. To Hackman, Wayne's dismissals weren't just insults. They were attacks on the kind of acting he believed was the future of American cinema. And the strangest part, they never even met on a set. Wayne disapproved of Hackman from a distance, and Hackman responded with silence. But that silence grew heavier as Hackman's career soared. The French Connection, Unforgiven, the Royal Tenenbaums. Wayne passed away long before witnessing Hackman's finest work. Even Wayne's daughter later admitted her father probably would have changed his mind. But they never reconciled, and Hackman never forgot. It wasn't a clash of personalities, that IT was a clash between eras. Old Hollywood myth-making versus the new wave of grounded, disciplined craft, and Hackman knew exactly which side he stood on. 3. Denzel Washington when Titans collide. Gene Hackman had worked with legends before. But during Crimson Tide, he met the one actor who refused to bow, break, or yield to his intensity. Denzel Washington. From the moment the two stepped onto the submarine's set, the air changed. Hackman arrived like a general, precise, rehearsed, controlled. Washington arrived like a force of nature, instinctive, unpredictable, and powerful in a way Hackman immediately recognized. Their styles clashed beautifully. Scenes turned into psychological chess matches. Rehearsals felt like sparring rounds. Lines became weapons neither wanted to surrender first. Washington later explained the dynamic bluntly. "I don't think I've been intimidated by another actor. This is my arena. Whoever walks in the gym, let's go at it." Hackman admired the talent. He wasn't blind, but the constant pushback exhausted him. He believed scenes needed a captain. Washington wasn't interested in following orders. The tension fueled the film. It made every confrontation crackle with urgency. Two men fighting for control of a nuclear submarine, and the scene at the same time. Hollywood walked away, calling it one of the greatest two-man performances ever filmed. Washington walked away impressed. Hackman walked away drained. They never worked together again. Some clashes end in hatred. This one ended in mutual respect and mutual relief. For Margot Kidder, Lois Lane versus Lex Luthor. When Gene Hackman signed on to Superman in 1978, he treated Lex Luthor like a Shakespearean villain. Everything mattered: posture, cadence, micro-expressions. Hackman showed up armed with calculation and menace. Margot Kidder, on the other hand, showed up with joy. Off-camera, she was funny, loose, impulsive, and charmingly chaotic. She joked between takes, improvised lines, and teased cast members just to keep spirits high. To her, it was fun.to Hackman. It was sabotage. More than one crew member remembered Hackman muttering, "Some of us are trying to make a movie here." Kidder saw Hackman's seriousness as suffocating. "He was so deep into Lex Luthor," she once said, "he forgets the rest of us are allowed to breathe." Their scenes buzzed with a tension that had nothing to do with the script. Lois Lane and Luthor were adversaries, but off-screen, their opposing acting styles made the divide even sharper. Kidder later praised Hackman's brilliance. Hackman admitted she had exceptional instincts. But closeness, not a chance. The moment the Superman films wrapped, their working relationship ended silently. Two great actors with two entirely incompatible philosophies. 5. Richard Harris, the grudge born from forgetting. Some feuds involve insults. Others involve ego. This one involves something far simpler and far more painful: being forgotten. When Richard Harris arrived on the set of Unforgiven, Hackman greeted him warmly, ready to reconnect after their previous film together. Harris, however, looked at him like they'd never met. He had no memory of their past work. Hackman was stunned. To him, co-stars were comrades. They shared trenches, cold nights, bruises, retakes, emotional exhaustion. Even difficult shoots formed bonds. To be treated like a stranger felt like disrespect. "He acts like we've never met," Hackman muttered afterward. "But we were in the trenches." He never confronted Harris. He carried the disappointment inward, and it surfaced in the most brutal scene of the film. The moment where Hackman's character, Little Bill, savagely beats Harris's English Bob became infamous. Crew members insisted that Hackman's intensity went far beyond choreography. Every blow felt personal. Every glare carried anger the script didn't require. Harris later joked about it, saying Hackman hit like a man who meant it. But the joke didn't heal anything. They remained polite, distant, and quietly wounded by each other's silences. Harris passed away in 2002. Hackman retired shortly after. All that remains of their tension is one unforgettable scene, and the story behind a single painful moment of being forgotten. 6. Liza Minnelli, Oil and Water on a Sinking Ship. Sometimes two actors clash because one is difficult. Sometimes they clash because the environment pushes them into conflict. And sometimes, like on the set of Lucky Lady 1975, it's both. Hackman and Liza Minnelli were trapped together for weeks on a cramped boat off the coast of Mexico. The heat was suffocating. The schedule was brutal. Tempers simmered just below the surface. Minnelli coped by singing, chatting, and cracking jokes to keep morale afloat. Her Broadway soul needed warmth and connection. Hackman's method demanded silence and focus. The difference wasn't just noticeable, it was explosive. Burt Reynolds, also in the cast, recalled Hackman snapping at Minnelli repeatedly. "Liza, shut the F up," he allegedly told her more than once. Minnelli was sensitive. Hackman's sharp words cut fast and deep. Crew members remembered her shrinking whenever he turned his frustration toward her. By the time filming wrapped, the damage was irreversible. Their chemistry on screen was flat. Reviews were lukewarm. The film underperformed. Minnelli walked away hurt. Hackman walked away irritated. Neither wanted a reunion. Some feuds end in fireworks. This one ended in exhaustion. 7. Wes Anderson, A Genius Meets a Storm. By the time the Royal Tenenbaums went into production, Hackman was already a legend. Wes Anderson, at just 32 years old, was an up-and-coming auteur with a precise vision and a notoriously meticulous directing style. They were destined to collide. Hackman never wanted the role in the first place. Anderson pursued him relentlessly, practically begging him to play the eccentric patriarch Royal Tenenbaum. When Hackman finally agreed, he arrived frustrated by the money, by the script, by the entire pastel world Anderson had created. The moment filming began, the storm hit. Anderson's style depended on exact blocking, exact framing, exact delivery. Hackman's style depended on instinct and freedom. Every direction felt to Hackman like interference. Every outburst felt to Anderson like a slap. Stories spread quickly. Hackman allegedly told Anderson to act like a man. Angelica Houston was brought to tears during one argument that Bill Murray visited the set on his days off just to support the young director. Anderson later admitted the experience was emotionally overwhelming. Hackman later admitted he didn't even understand the film while making it. When filming wrapped, Hackman didn't shake hands, didn't offer goodbyes, didn't speak to Anderson again. But here's the irony. It may be one of Hackman's greatest performances. A brilliant actor, a brilliant director, a collaboration defined by friction, fire, and unforgettable work. Sometimes storms create the most dazzling results. Gene Hackman's clashes weren't random. They were the product of an artist who believed in discipline above ego, craft above celebrity, truth above comfort. He didn't seek conflict, but he didn't avoid it either. Every feud revealed a piece of who he was, a craftsman, a perfectionist, a man who demanded everything from himself and expected the same from everyone else. But were these confrontations a testament to his artistic integrity or signs of a man who burned too many bridges along the way? What do you think? And if you enjoyed this deep dive into Hollywood's most complicated legends, stay tuned. There are countless more stories waiting beneath the surface.